Today I'm visiting the keep at Castle Rising in the village of Castle Rising in North Norfolk, which is only a few miles from the town of King's Lynn and a very short distance from the Lincolnshire border. The castle was created shortly after the year 1139 by a Norman settler, a man by the name of William de Albini, who married the widow of King Henry I, which gave him, a man of modest means, access to huge sums of money. And he created this castle for no other reason than social status. This part of Norfolk wasn't considered to be an area that was subject to attacks by brigands and rogue barons. In fact, it was a peaceful rural area. This man wanted to create himself as somebody important, and in fact, he was regarded as being rather puffed up, boorish, and an arrogant little man. And the only person that he gave deference or respect to was the king, and upon everybody else he looked down upon them. As part of his social climbing status, apart from marrying the widow of King Henry I, he also built a castle at Buckingham in Norfolk, and also carried out further improvement work to Arundel Castle, which is in Sussex. Massive resources were required to build and improve Castle Rising. It had huge outer defensive walls, a huge moat, and a range of religious and military buildings. Without doubt, should an enemy had broached the subject of attacking this castle, they would have had grave difficulty in actually bringing it down. However, in the year 1145, William got permission from King Stephen to actually mint coins from the castle. And as part of that, he had settled a community of Jewish people in the village who later moved to the town of King's Lynn. As one can imagine, William had a lot of grand ideas, and grand schemes ran in their millions, and no doubt also depleted the wealth that he inherited as a result of marrying the widow of King Henry I. He built 3 outer baileys here in the castle. Most castles require 1, perhaps 2, but here he was trying to make a social statement. He had the castle erected on top a heavy ramp which raised the promontory of the castle much higher than the surrounding low, flat farmland. However grandiose and wonderful his schemes were, they were not to be, because he died without issue. Year 1243, the entire estate was inherited by another settler from the Norman families, a man by the name of Roger de Montault. The de Montault family were a very powerful baronial family, and they had few possessions, and certainly their estates were virtually worthless, and so the estate was eventually reverted to the possession of the crown for the sale of 10,000 marks by his younger brother Robert in the year 1323. Now here the history of Castle Rising gets even more interesting. When the sale or the reversion of the rights of the ownership of the castle passed to the state, it actually passed into the hands of Queen Isabella of France and a man by the name of Roger Mortimer. She was acting as regent while her son, Edward III, was allowed to develop as a normal youth before acquiring the princely reins of power from the state. And of course it was during this period that much intrigue was being created. By the year 1330, Isabella sadly fell from grace. She was toppled by her younger son, Edward III, and local legend here confuses historical fact. According to local legend, she was imprisoned here at Castle Rising for her entire life, dying in the year 1358, and that it was said that she went mad in the later years and had been seen as a ghost running around the castle screaming her head off. And for sure, a number of people actually visiting the castle over the years have engaged this particular type of manifestation. But is it really Queen Isabella? What really happened to Queen Isabella was the fact that after a short period of house arrest, her son released her and she was handsomely rewarded as the Queen's mother. In fact, Edward granted to her several royal residencies and castles, including Castle Rising, which she used frequently as a base for travelling the country. And certainly her wealth was quite extensive. She employed an army of servants, pages, artists, acrobats, actors to entertain and look after her, particularly so in her later years. So far from being the woman that went mad and died being confined in the castle, she actually lived a relatively healthy and free life. Interestingly, after Isabella's death, the estate passed to her grandson, Edward the Black Prince, and he held tenure over this estate, which became part of the Duchy of Cornwall, and he died in the year 1357. Sadly, following the Black Prince, the castle had, shall we say, mixed fortunes. What happened from there onwards, a number of repairs were carried out to the building and improvements were made, but also gradually, as it passed from hand to hand, the castle became dilapidated and rather run down. However, during this period, its use was mostly as a hunting facility rather than as a castle defensive. And this site certainly became very popular for hunting. In fact, Mary Tudor herself actually stayed in the castle along with a number of noble dignitaries over the centuries. In the year 1544, Henry VIII passed the estate to the Howard family, the Dukes of Norfolk, and to a Thomas Howard. He was faced with an immense bill in repairing and putting the castle straight. The ownership of the castle remained in the Howard family's possession until the 20th century, when the estate here was passed over into the care of English Heritage. Today, a current descendant of the Howard family is actually involved with the administration of the site, and the site provides much interest to tourists that visit this part of Norfolk. But the important part is, for me at least, is the ghostly history associated with the site. It's worth mentioning that these rather crude archways were actually built later when the roof disappeared off the castle and other parts of the building became so dilapidated that people weren't able to travel around the building comfortably, and protected of course by the walls of the keep. It was necessary for them to punch a number of holes through walls, supporting walls, which bring me all the way through to this part of the castle. I'm actually standing in the basement of what would have been the Great Hall of the castle. And below me is the well, which was an incredibly important part of maintaining security within a castle, because they were able to supply themselves with as much water as they needed in the event of a long and lengthy siege. But looking at this today, the bare walls are well maintained, but one can see that a number of floors have long since disappeared, and of course the entire site at this point of the castle is completely open to the elements. But having said that, this is an amazing building, and one which I'm going to remember for a long time to come. And thank you very much for joining me here today.
Hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you. This one. Someone talking through it. Hello? Hello? You can walk through it now. It's going across this wooden floorboards like this. Someone was walking across it as I went out there, as if they were trying to get away. Apart from that. I don't know if the camera picked it up.
What do you get?
Well, I've got it running at the moment over there. I've taken some photos and I've just called out and said if anybody here wants to talk to us, you can come forward and talk about it. I was looking up there, just got out, I heard a man's voice through there, got up and said to the camera, I don't know who heard that, there's a man's voice, and as I was climbing up them stairs, you know they've got the wooden floorboards that go, someone went along that wooden floorboard.
We're currently in the Keep 4 building, and this room appears to be, as far as I'm concerned, and the rest of the team, to be the most active in terms of weird noises and sounds that have been encountered here today. And certainly from your point, Sean, what did you experience?
Well, in here, I heard a woman's voice. Also, when me and Tim was in here, we heard like a tapping on the window, didn't we?
Yeah.
And also, when we was filming earlier, we also got a whiff of really strong tobacco for a couple of seconds.
There was, yeah.
Yeah, and also earlier on when I was walking around the castle, someone was running away from me because I heard a man's voice, and then when I asked who was there, I heard someone running across the floorboards, and also I've been touched as well.
He's certainly touched. What about you, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, similar. I heard the rapping on the window and sounded like somebody moving around on the floorboard, and the smell as well. So,
But couldn't the rapping on the window, could that not have been the wind or a breeze?
well, it could have been, but if you look at the trees outside,
It's not happening now. It's not happening now.
It's not happening now,
It's been
but
the same weather all day.
no, I would stand by that in the sense that earlier it was very, very noisy here. What I'm going to try to do before we go from this site today, this is the paranormal add-on, which I always add to the documentaries. I'm going to try and reach out, all of us, and see if we can pick up any form of EVP or perhaps some other indication of spiritual presence. What am I feeling here at the moment? I've just started to open up to what I can sense and feel. I can feel something that it's almost like a residual energy. It's a horrible feeling. It's a feeling of anger and even lust to a point. I can just feel this very greedy presence. It feels completely negative and very neutral. But I don't think that what I'm feeling is part of the entire spectral history of this particular building. And so what I'm going to do is try and open up a little bit more and hope that we can pick up something which we can share with you. I can feel your presences here with us today. We have come here in love, light and peace. We just wish to make peaceful and friendly contact. Haven't come here to cause any issues. We've shown great respect to this building and respect to those who are in spirit here. We wondered whether or not you would give us some indication before we go of your presence, whether it be a noise, a tap, or some other type of attention grabber, and apart from slamming doors. There was a little bang there, wasn't there?
Came up there, didn't it?
Came from upstairs. Please, can you give us an indication of your presence? Is the spirit of Queen Isabella, are you still here? I've felt a feminine presence wandering around. Could somebody in spirit here, the guardian of the castle perhaps, somebody of importance, could you give us an indication that you can hear us? seems strange that every time I
right.
speak,
It sounds like
we hear an acknowledging knock, and this happens a lot here. Okay, let's work on the basis that there is a level of communication there. Every time I've spoken and asked for a sign or indication of a presence, we've heard a knock. So I'm going to ask you this question one more time, just to confirm that it's yourself who's doing this. If you are present with us at this moment, could you make that noise again, please, as an acknowledgement? And it's back again. Thank you. It's a very, very cold building, as you can imagine, and particularly so in the winter. It's even colder inside than it is outside. But there's certainly a strong energy around here. You can feel it? Can you feel it?
Yep.
Do one of you guys want to ask?
let Tim come and do it all day.
Tim?
Okay, we're here to find out more about what is in this castle, and if you can make a sound from the spirit world, or make a noise, or drop something.
I just see very, very quickly, just as you finished talking, I saw a light anomaly. It was just like a long streak, which was which was vertical, and it actually moved very, very slowly across the window, and it just faded. As it moved, you could see it briefly, then it faded into the light. I know that you're here, we can feel your presence with us, but could you please, could you say something? It's weird, isn't it?
Sounds like
It's very, very
It's
odd.
like a huge range of somebody tapping a tune almost, that, wasn't it?
Very, very odd. I'm afraid we could be here for the rest of the day. I'm hoping that we may have picked up something on the other shots that we've done, but it's certainly been interesting here today, and I hope that we've got something there to share. And who knows, we may even have a ghost.
Oh, good. Certainly something though.
Okay, I think it's time for us to...
Yeah.
Yeah.